And action.
Okay, what is going on? What is going on, guys? There's been breaking news today about what's happening with Facebook and news not being able to be reported. So we have called in the one and only Emmy Callister from The Media Coach. Emmy, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to clear up some of this stuff. There's a lot of confusion, Emmy, going on around town at the moment. Let's clear it up. We've got lots of real estate agents tuning in as well.
And just before we do, Emmy, can you explain your expertise that you offer to qualify that you are more than knowledgeable about this topic?
Yeah.
So firstly, lovely to join you both. Thank you so much for having me today. It's beautiful to see you both. So I am Emmy Callister and I run a company called The Media Coach. A little bit of an insight into my background is I was formerly a broadcast newsreader and journalist for 7 and 10. I read those crazy bulletins and had that terrible news voice like this, which is what we'll be talking a little bit more about today. And then I realised my job was dying because social media was taking it. And it's quite ironic because that is exactly what's happening today. And I went on to master, digital platforms. And I run an international company now across Australia, predominantly real estate focused, in helping agents build their business and brand through online mediums such as Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google, the lot. I'm the package of everything. I don't favour one.
Tells me you're going to be very busy, Emmy. Something tells me you're going to be really busy.
So Emmy, this is real estate agents primarily, or you do all brands?
Look, I really specialise in the real estate industry. That's my specialty, I'd like to say. I love people like you guys way too much. I think when it comes to digital now, you do have to become quite hyper-specialised. But if there are people on the call today who aren't from the real estate industry, this will also be valuable for you because there's been huge impacts on small businesses as well as a result of these changes.
Yeah.
And also to frame it up, for me, I've been an agent for almost 27 years. In the digital world, today is the biggest change that I've ever witnessed in my life in the digital world. So we're really happy that you're here.
Absolutely. And for those of you guys that are tuning in that have absolutely no idea what we're talking about, it has been all over the news today. But I'm sure many of our real estate friends are busy listing and selling property. So just to be clear, news has been banned across Facebook, correct? So no news. Let's just clear that up, I think, for everyone that's watching.
Yeah.
So what happened is Australia launched a first initiative around 2 years ago, and what we held was the first digital inquiry. Now, what this digital inquiry did was looked at the way digital platforms presented content, created content, and distributed content. And it analysed, was this fair in the Australian consumer landscape? And what feedback came back from that was that journalism was potentially dying as a result of the way that these huge media companies, being Google and Facebook, were serving information. So they held this inquiry and put forward recommendations. Now, at the start of the year, these recommendations came to light, and it was put forward in a media bargaining code that Google and Facebook would have to start paying for news content. Right. Now, originally, Google went, nick off. I'm not going to pay and get lost, and we're not going to do it. They eventually came to the party and table, but we are talking millions of dollars here. Okay. We are talking millions of dollars here. What Facebook has said is, no, we will not be paying for news content. Our platform is a free platform. Everyone can post on our platform for free, and we refuse to really pay you for money for your distribution of your content. Now, whether you like it or not, and again, I want to reflect on, I'm not here. I love Facebook. My business is built around it. I know you love Facebook too.
Yeah.
Facebook is a community of apps. It's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. It is a huge. It even owns WhatsApp. We're talking about one of the world's biggest digital providers, right? And what they've just said is, look, we don't want to be bullied by you, and we don't agree with your government changes, and we don't have this across the world. Canada has weighed into the debate, hoping that the same changes if Australia put forward would do the same. But no, we don't agree with you, and no, we're not going to pay for your news. So ultimately they, I think, responded in a lot of fury and said, well, from today, anybody that's a news outlet or anything with news information, guess what? You don't like us? Don't use our platform.
Right. Okay. So let's define news, Imi, because I think this is where, you know, the real estate industry is just going like, what's going on and how's that going to affect us? So by news, we don't just mean Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10.
No.
It reaches out further than that, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, you know, there's a lot of industry partners in here that, you know, are affected by this. But news is anything like REA and Domain, okay? Realestate.com.au and Domain are considered media publishing companies. In fact, on their Facebook page. Yeah, so on their Facebook page, they've actually got that as their, you know, you choose what type of company you are, and that's what they are. Now, you have to think about this. They do report information and they do report news. So the biggest impact for my real estate agents sitting out there, you know, is, and I will give a couple of recommendations on this. These are my recommendations. I, you know, am very closely partnered with Facebook, but I am an independent business, and I want to make it really clear that my views are my own, but also that, you know, what I'm talking about now, this is a rapidly changing landscape, and what we talk about now, Lise, maybe we'll have to do an update on what's happening.
Yeah. But, next week, right? Next week, next month, next year, we don't know. Yeah. It is such a rapidly changing space. So just to be clear, all right, so if I'm an agent, and obviously I'm an agent that independently has built my own social media channels and, you know, do lots of video content for clients and that kind of stuff and sell property that way. But if you're an agent who has grabbed your realestate.com.au or your domain listing and then you've gone and whacked that onto your Facebook page, no longer allowed.
Facebook will block that link. And my recommendation would be to not do that, Lise. Like, don't go. In fact, as a rule of thumb for anyone out there right now, don't post any links. Okay, like, firstly, you shouldn't be posting any links into Facebook anyway. If you want to build a business and a brand on the platform, 97% of Facebook's revenue is made through advertising. What that means is it makes money by keeping you in the platform. It has no interest in directing you to another platform. And if you actually look at the way you consume links on Facebook, it still keeps you in the platform ultimately. But where the issue will lie is that will be seen as a media company or a company that publishes and distributes news type information, and therefore it would be bad. I'd even recommend for your agency links, okay? Because while I won't go into naming the companies affected, I have had a number of agents and agencies on the phone to me today saying their Facebook has been blocked. You know, just make sure that you don't publish anything right now that's driving traffic outside, just as a rule of thumb, because that will ensure that Facebook's not going to mark or ban your content or your page.
Right. Okay. All right. So, look, this is really, really interesting stuff. Now, I don't know. And again, it's just way too early to speculate, right? But I just think if you're an agent out there and you are just posting content, good authentic video content with no links on there, you're absolutely not going to be affected as we film this right now.
No. As a real estate agent, the only thing that you can really be affected by is you trying to distribute content to other platforms, okay, and trying to drive traffic to other platforms. The other places that you will be affected, it is my understanding, is if you're running social media products through these providers. Again,
that just dawned on me as you were talking about realestate.com before. Yes. Yeah. Let's try and just reiterate on that a little bit. And again, guys, this is all fresh and hot off the press. We're just giving you the information that we have read or we've heard, and this is our opinion of what we've read and heard, right?
Yeah. So look, it's common sense.
It's so new. Like it's a moving target that's moved very quickly just today.
Yeah, it's common sense, Lise. Like, obviously, if these are media publishing companies, part of that link on it says lifestyle section or our news section, right? So they report property figures and news and information. If you're then driving traffic, even if it's a property link to their site or they're running a social product for you, that means Facebook's going to mark that as, no content. All it takes is to go on to realestate.com.au's or domains pages right now, and you'll see it says no posts, which means they're not allowed to distribute information onto the Facebook platform. That's the reality of it. So the same would be with driving traffic to them. I'm sure that, in fact, I don't know what those companies are doing to try and negotiate deals with Facebook. I have obviously spoken very clearly to them this morning, and they've instructed that my products and businesses and clients and the way that we manage content is completely fine. In my conversation, they did have, mention around those products would be somewhat affected, but couldn't transparently with how quickly it was changing, what the impact would be or where they'd move forward with them.
So, guys, if you've just tuned in, what we're talking about is Facebook's and the versus Australian government versus media and the retraction of media off Facebook, how that affects the property industry today. It's happened today. We're talking about that. Amy, I've got a little bit of a question. Often I see a story referring to stamp duty or I see a story referring to first home buyers. It's published by ABC News or it's published by Nine. Does that mean if I screenshot that and put it on my social media and say, look, this is great news, put an opinion with it, is that circulating their news?
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it depends how quickly how they rapidly implement it, right? I mean, it's amazing if you even think about it, how a tech giant was instantly overnight able to turn off a certain amount of pages, right?
Oh, God, it's mind-blowing.
They will have to change their own policies, the way that they monitor things, the way they advertise things, everything will be under scrutiny. But from what I understand in what's being put out there, that would be considered circulating a news product or information. It'd be hard for Facebook to mark that instantly, while often they rely on people reporting things that breach their violation,
Correct. And if you see how quickly Insta or Facebook jump onto that, we all know we've posted the video and we've put some great music behind it. I need to find out that 5 minutes later it's been pulled down because it's against violation rights or copyrights for that particular song, right? So they do seem to post this kind of stuff really, really quickly.
So, Amy, this could potentially put Lisa to the #1 position in Australia on Facebook for property.
Mark, I believe she's already there, babe. Let's get with the time.
Come on, realestate.com would have been a pretty big competitor that's just been taken out by Facebook.
Stop that.
Yeah.
Now, listen, so what can agents do, Emmy? What can they do moving forward from today? So you can't, guys, just again, for those of you that have just tuned in, lots of real estate agents do watch this.
Yes.
You can't grab your realestate.com links. Not that you should have been doing it before, but you can't grab that anymore, or your domain link and whack it onto your Facebook account. No, not allowed anymore.
Property news.
Or property news, not allowed anymore. All right. So
if it's from the news guys.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if it's come through from ABC or 9 or 7 or whatever it is, no more, guys. Cannot post that on Facebook. Emmy, what can agents do? Just give us 3 great tips. And you're talking to the already converted here, but let's give these guys out some great tips as to what they can do to stand out on Facebook if they were utilising those links.
So the first thing is, it doesn't matter if you're a small business in any sector right now or you're a real estate agent. Don't post links into the platform, because anything that you do post into the platform will be considered challenged or, will be looked at quite quickly by Facebook, because it's driving traffic, and they'll then have to quantify whether that's new. Even if it's a blog, even if it's your own website, just as a blanket hold, please don't post links. The second thing is, ensure that the way that your tab is set up or the business that you're operating on Facebook, some people don't want to mark themselves as a business service or, I've played around with settings. Make sure that you're definitely not a public figure or media company at the moment, okay?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the back of Instagram, you can call yourself a title like a public figure. That is bad.
So you're saying that's bad?
Public figure is okay at the moment, but I am monitoring it very carefully, because a number of my clients are that, because they don't want to be marked as real estate agents. There's a lot that goes.
There wasn't actually. I don't think there was an option there anyway.
Yeah. So look, public figure is okay, but I am monitoring that very quickly because public figures can be considered influencers, which can then go into news. You know, you have to think about it. A lot of the news presenters are considered public figures, which would then be, you know, could be potentially scrutinised by Facebook. I don't know how far this is going to go. Public figure for the moment, at least, is safe. But if you are marked as a media or a news company or that kind of thing, you know, you'd be surprised that how quickly Facebook will pick that up. So that's the second thing is really just make sure that you're not that for your personal brand or agency. So make sure you're really going into the back end. And the last thing is don't sweat it. Like this isn't, while we will see massive transformations and changes in this landscape, I do believe there'll be a clear bargaining power with Facebook. You know, try not to dig too much into the media headlines because obviously media will have its opinion around what's going on and wrongly that opinion. So, you know,
be a public negotiation that we're witnessing, and we take it as a statement, but it could be a negotiation that these guys are going through.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and I do believe that, you know, from my conversations with quite prominent people in this landscape, that there will be a negotiation sorted out. Right now, you're going to be reading headlines in the papers where it's like, you know, they won't sort this out and get Facebook out of Australia and, you know, try not to get into that. If you are a company that solely relies on this as your business or that sort of thing, I do understand how distressing it is. Remember, everything will work out. And the last thing is just, you know, if you are using Facebook in any way for advertising or you're using those property portals to, I guess, any of their social products, you know, at the end of the day, you may have a vendor that you're working with that could be, you know, I guess really monitoring how much money is being spent into that campaign and expecting a certain result. So do make sure that you speak to any of the people that are associated with those accounts and say, look, has this link or has this product been affected? Because obviously my vendor has paid for this as a result, and we want to make sure that, you know, that's been delivered, that what you've promised through Facebook has been delivered. Because, you know, you may have someone turn around and say, well, I purchased a social media product for my home from this.
Through the likes of, are you referring to through the likes of like realestate.com or Domain, like that I think it's called Agent Maximizer or something like that, kind of product?
There's a number that they run. And what they do is they will run a property and promotion, but it will direct traffic back to their website. Yes, that's one. I think Animal, I just got it there. News Extend, there's Audience Maximizer. They come up with funky names for them.
These are agents that don't know how to use Facebook, so they go through the media companies, pay the media companies, and then the media companies throw it back into Facebook. So that's blocked.
Well, you've just got to remember, like all these products, they leverage news sites, okay? And that's where they say they're placing the property on. So it's just common sense to kind of say, well, that will instantly be impacted, right? You know? And obviously they will be working as much as they can through solving that situation. But in the meantime, if you've had someone that's paid for a product, you want to educate yourself on the impact of that and make sure that they've got their, you know, people pay for a product, you expect a service. And, you know, I think those kind of the key things. Remember, if you're a personal brand and you're marked as a media or company because you like to present yourself that way, you know, I'm watching the public figure, that is fine for now, but just be conscious of that. When you're posting content, no links at all, just to steer clear. And, you know, I wouldn't recommend going and screenshotting stuff. And the reason why I'm really saying that is you have to remember Facebook has got millions of users across the globe. When you get reported as distributing media stuff that you shouldn't be, and then you get barred, it's going to take a long time for them to care about your small little profile being affected. Like
I actually got barred
you did.
once on Facebook, and I was going to say,
I'm not sure why. Do we want to?
I know exactly why, but I won't say it. But, you know,
this is still G-rated TV time. God knows.
You know, it is serious because I didn't almost broke out in a rash. It was serious. Like you don't realise how much you use something until it's gone. 1 month it was. Emmy, I've got a question for you. we've talked a lot about real estate agents, their use of social media with these changes that are happening. We're all servants. We're servants to landlords, tenants, buyers and sellers. They are our customers that we serve. Is the Australian public like genuinely going to be hurt by this banter that's happening, or is the Australian public actually better off? Like,
yeah.
Look, I think, like, you have to really ask yourself, where do you get your news sources from? And it was quite funny. I thought, well, this is going to take a long time to circulate this whole issue because, at the end of the day, Facebook won't be running it. We won't be running the news thing.
It was the first thing I saw this morning.
I mean, my honest opinion is you should be careful of what you read on Facebook anyway, and you should be careful when you read
stuff we pump out.
Exactly. And anything that you consume, like people talk about authentic journalism or real journalism or, I mean, the reality is every journalist has a headline, every journalist has a boss, and every journalist has an agenda too. There's what's called an angle in a story. I studied journalism for years, so when you are reading stuff, you should take everything with a grain of salt and educate yourself around it in a number of different opinions. Yeah. Do I think this is going to cause massive explosions? Do I think Facebook will withdraw from Australia? No, I don't. They make millions, if not billions. I can't even imagine how much every year off marketing and advertising in Australia. Google offered that threat and came to the party on paying these news companies. I understand the government's disposition. I already know he's been on, Josh Fryberg's been on the phone to Zuckerberg, and I know that there's a lot going to take place to try and clean up the landscape. It's just them mediating a deal, and what I do hope, especially for our industry partners, like working real estate news, we see them back on the platform, because there is actually some wonderful media companies out there that distribute world-class content for us, and I hope that Facebook does, they've kind of gone for this blanket ban, and some people are writing these really like, they've banned, anti-vaxxers and all this information. And that's not what Facebook's agenda is. It's my understanding is that what they're saying is we will not play by your rules and pay for content on our platform is their key mission. And they do not believe in that as their methodology and value in their business. And therefore what the impact is saying, well, then we won't allow news for everyone. And what we can hope moving forward is that a mediation comes to light, and that mediation involves in some sort of formal agreement that meets both the government and the Facebook. But how long that takes to happen, I mean,
who only knows? Who only knows? Great info and advice, guys. We're clearing things up. Facebook, no more news allowed on Facebook. Realestate.com.au, domain.com.au, that's all thrown into that pool.
May not be forever, may be forever.
And this is info that you're not going to be able to find anywhere. We are so lucky to have had you on here, Imi. You came on last minute. We love you for that. Thank you so much.
Brandy.
Guys, you are going to need help with your social media now, no doubt. This is your lady. Look her up, the media coach. We're going to pop a link in here. And this information is going to be really useful as well. So please make sure you share this post. There's info in here right now today that we've just given you. Thank you so much to Imi that you're not going to find anywhere else.
Imogen Callister has made us better on social because of her profession. So
without a doubt.
You're a hired gun.
I use Imi, I can vouch for that.
You're a hired gun. So guys, we have to give you a good plug because this is just amazing information you've given us
today
awesome
info.
And what you've done. So thank you.
Thank you,
My
Imi.
absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me. And if there's any real estate agents out there, make sure that you're going to watch Lisa at Aric because she's going to take your breath.
Stressing her out. Thanks, Legend. Take care.
See you guys. Thanks, Imi.